Thank you for tuning in to Uncommon Women, a podcast that provides a platform for women of all walks of life to share their upbringings, life lessons learned, experiences, and journeys to come. Uncommon Women speaks on topics that can relate to all women. We share, we listen, we laugh, we cry, and we empower each other to be the best uncommon woman that they can be. Ultimately, we are cultivating a global movement of women supporting women. Women supporting entrepreneurship, relationships, self-love, and so much more. We inspire each other to make an impact on this world for the better. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe to Uncommon Women. Now, finally, grab a seat, get comfortable, and hear from your wonderful hosts, Shanira and Jenny Lee.
Hey everyone, this is Uncommon Women here. This is Jenny.
And I'm Shanira.
And we have a great guest speaker this evening by the name of Angela Lenhardt, and she will be speaking on her testimony and sharing tips on how to help stress. So I'm going to go into her bio. Angela Lenhardt is a spiritual coach and Feng Shui consultant. Since the death of her mother, she has dedicated her time to healing others with 16 years of experience. She also has learned to embrace her special gift of connecting with others by sensing their energies and foreseeing future events. She helps clients make changes to live life as to their highest potential through the flow of abundance, health, love, and harmony. She will be speaking on how to help stress when life gets crazy. Thank you, Angela, for coming on this evening.
Thank you.
How are you doing?
I'm great. Thank you so much for the invite.
You're welcome. I'm glad we are glad to have you this evening. So my question is for you. Can you speak a little bit about your childhood?
My childhood. Absolutely. I grew up in Montana, a small town in Montana where I lived on a farm, a wheat farm with cattle and horses, and I had a brother and parents, and it was good. And then at the age of 14, I was a foster kid because of the circumstances that had taken place in my life that was beyond my control and beyond my brother's control. And there was a force that just came over me, and I got into the car one day and took my brother and packed him up and just said, we're going to go find a new place to live until mom gets better and we can figure this out, right? And so I guess it began my intuitive journey and really discovering courage and self-esteem and what it takes to survive from a very young age. And that's why I feel very proud to be able to share tips with people today, especially with, individuals that feel stuck in life and you're just bombarded by challenges. There is a way, and there is a way through it, but you have to go through it. You can't necessarily go around it. And right. That's when you literally take the bull by the horns. So that's really how my journey began into discovering, learning how to speak up for myself and learning what it means to show up and be courageous in life, because it's tough. I mean, especially in this day and age, with technology and how the world is turning. You have to be able to speak up for yourself and stand strong in faith and conviction of who you are and what you desire out of life. So
that's amazing. What emotions were you going through during that time where, you had to, not only take yourself out of the situation, but your brother as well?
I don't know if I can put myself back in that situation just like that. It's relatively easy. Fear, for one thing, like, what are you going to do? I was 14 and I didn't even know how to drive, so I pretty much just stole the car anyway. And so I think fear was the driving force behind it, but also the motivation of survival. So those two things kicked in intermittently, and I was able to just I guess pull myself together in a way and really ground myself and go, we are doing this and we're going here. And my journey began when we were driving down the gravel road, and my brother looked at me and he goes, where are we going? And I said, I don't know, but we're not staying here. And I really had no idea where I was going. I had no clue. And I ended up driving to a house that I had, there was the town nurse that I knew lived there. And I thought, well, who better to take care of us than the nurse?
Right.
And I drove to her house, and I got out and I walked to the front door, and I just said, hi. I said, my brother and I need a place to live until my mom gets better. Can we live here? That's really what I said. And she just says, yes. And here we are. We had our suitcases, and we, had a place to live, a roof over our head. And here I was trying to take care of my brother and be 14 and have a life. I don't know. I really can't even put it into words what I was thinking, but I just know that through the grace of God and the Holy Spirit, right? Whether it's my intuition, it's intuition, it's the Holy Spirit. It's you're connecting with your higher self. It's all of those eminent forces coming together and moving you in a direction. And that's how I live my life.
That's so powerful.
That is. At one point, even as you left and you were on survival mode, at any time through any of that experience, did you feel like, because I know stress causes so much in us that it just makes us want to give up. Did you ever feel like that?
Honestly, I mean, there are many times along my journey, even from where I am today, that I've wanted to give up. But I know that I'm here for a reason and my purpose. So I keep checking in with that purpose. And that purpose is what keeps me going. It keeps the fire burning. But sure, giving up is... It's part of the process in life. It's the ebb and flows of life, and it does seem like we have more, down times than up times typically. So you just have to be able to ride the wave, and that's where stepping into your truth and learning how to just take it one step at a time. You don't even take it one day at a time. You break it down, and you go into one step at a time, and you take a breath with each step. And you ask yourself, is everything okay right now? Yes, everything okay right now? Yes. So, you begin to retrain your brain into how you react with the outside world. And then over time, you begin to hone those intuitive skills. The universe really does guide you. I do believe in the angelic realm. They're very, very powerful. And when you call those higher forces into your life and you just say, God, I need help, which way to go? You have to be able to settle down and then to listen, because that is truly where the wisdom is. The wisdom is within the silence. When you're frantic and going crazy and you're on that crazy train going nowhere fast, you can't hear wisdom.
That's right.
You hear the voice of fear, and that voice of fear is what takes you further away from your journey, and we typically fall into our old behaviors and patterns that don't necessarily feed us in a healthy way. We go into that mode again of deprivation and hurts and pain and the old stories that continuously repeat themselves. So that's where the true growth and transformation comes from, is when you can recognize those and go, not today, you don't, and you choose to go the other way. And that in itself takes a lot of determination and courage.
That makes sense. And I think a lot of people may not realize that quitting is easier than actually just fighting, pushing through.
Oh yeah, quitting. There and many times along my journey where I've been a spiritual life coach for over 16 years. And I'll tell you what, there have been many times that I've said, I don't want to do this anymore. I've written about it in my book. I don't want to do this. This isn't for me. I want to go make real money. I want to go, do this. I want to go do that, blah, blah, blah. And God's like, no, you don't. And I pretty much get jerked back by my ponytail every time. Consequences just get steeper and steeper and steeper the stupider you become. So you might want to figure it out, because I've made a lot of those mistakes.
I totally agree. Yeah. So let's jump into that. How did you get into your passion and your calling?
Because I was forced into it. It wasn't. Yeah, I didn't aspire to be a coach or intuitive from a young age. It was right after my mom passed away. So she died when I was 24.
Okay.
And it was just out of the blue. And one night I called her on my way home from work, because I did go to college to go into the financial. I was thinking about becoming a financial analysis or, investments or something along those lines. So I have my business management and finance degree. And then my mom passed away shortly after I graduated from college. So I called her one day on the phone and I said, where are you going? I said, what are you doing? She goes, oh, I'm getting ready to go. And I said, well, where are you going? She goes, well, I'm going home with the angels. And I said, Mom, are you crazy? I didn't know what to think about it. And I said, are you drinking? What's your issue? Because I was thinking that this is going to be another reenactment of what happened when I was 14 years old. And she said, no, she says, you're fine. Your brother's fine. And I'm just getting ready to go. And I said, what? And she goes, I'll see you again someday. And she just, well, what was she doing? He says, well, she said that she was going to get ready to go home with the angels. And what does that even mean? I had no idea what that even really meant. And he said, oh, well, maybe she was just, having a day, whatever. And I said, okay. Well, the following morning, I get up super early, like 5:36, and I just go sit in the dining room in the dark. And my husband follows me in the dining room and he goes, what are you doing? And I said, I'm waiting. And he goes, what are you waiting for? And I said, I don't know. And then my phone rang about 5 minutes later, and it was my aunt calling to tell me that my mom had passed away in her sleep. And there was no drugs or alcohol involved. She didn't commit suicide. There wasn't any of that. She just knew that her time on this physical plane was up. And she was given, she gave me the warning, and then my life changed. And that after that experience, then I began to ask myself, what is this life truly about? Because here I was all about, making money and chasing the shiny articles and the things and all the stuff that make you appear to be successful, when I realized that wasn't the meaning of success. That wasn't what we're here to do. Yeah. It's here to serve. It's here to live from a deeper place within our own heart and soul, and to connect with our soul, and to live from that authentic, being authentic and being real, for crying out loud. Just be real.
Yeah.
And then I began to study the mind, the body, and the spirit, and how it's so interrelated. And that's how I became who I am today. So.
Wow.
That's amazing. How
it just didn't like come together.
Well, no, there were pieces, but how God putting the pieces together. But
it was a good storm. Yeah. I mean, now looking back, I can say, oh my God, I can see where this connected to this dot, to this dot, to this dot. Yeah. But when you're in the middle of it and it feels like a complete train wreck, it's really difficult to see your way through it. Yeah. And that's why it's so helpful to have people that are neutral, that that aren't invested in your story, that aren't going to allow you to play the victim over and over again, because that's the only way you're going to get out of it and to stop doing it, is if you have somebody that kind of gives you that kick in the butt and brings some reality to your world and says, what are you speaking? What are you thinking? What are you doing? Because you're creating it. So stop it. And that's, thank goodness I had people that have intervened in my life and said, kind of shook me up a little bit and posed those questions like, what are you doing, and why do you keep sabotaging yourself? And then that's when the game.
Yeah.
So I think, we end up sabotaging ourselves, and we don't even realize that we're doing it because it's so unconscious. And maybe we're used to doing that because we're used to, playing whatever role in this world that we've become accustomed to, but it truly isn't serving us. But on some level, it was back in the day because it was probably a survival technique that we learned. But if I continued doing what I did back when I was 14, as far as survival, I would have blown up my life again. I wouldn't be who I am today and have accomplished the things that I have and have the inner peace and freedom that I do if I would have remained in that same mindset that I did years and years and years prior. So that's why, having somebody that can ask you important questions, that can ask you soul-filled questions, and give you some guidance, some straightforward guidance, is so essential to success. But at the end of the day, I think it's inner peace and freedom that we all desire and want.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Yeah. So can you share to those who haven't found their gift or passion, what can they do and how can they embrace it?
Well, I think that everybody here, everybody that is walking the face of this earth, has a gift and a passion that they need to share with the world. You are born with a gift, but you are. Everybody is. And you say, well, there isn't anything that I really like to do. But bull crap. You just haven't done enough things yet. You have to be willing to go out on an edge and fail. How many times have I failed? I've tried practically every musical instrument, every dance, every dance step,
right.
Whatever it has been, karate, taekwondo, whatever it is, to find what I'm good at. And it's so it's like going back into your life, I think. And I'm super passionate about animals, horses in particular. But I grew up with horses, so those have always been that consistent thing in my life. Granted, they weren't in my world in my teens, but when I was young, and then I've had Trigger, my horse, for the last 26 years. So he's been very consistent in my life. And I'm super passionate about animals, and I am intuitive. So that's how, my second book was born. But I think it is, thinking back to what are the things that you truly enjoy? Do you like to ice skate? Do you like to read? Do you like to write? Do you like to draw? Maybe you're a numbers person. I'm not a numbers person. I'm not a plumber. I don't know how to build things. You don't want me to build anything to do with your house. So I know that those are my gifts. But if you think about it, what are the things that you enjoy doing? And that is the way that the universe says, okay, this is a gift. How can you put that into play where you can use it to either motivate people? Maybe you want to make a career out of it. Maybe you don't. Maybe you want to keep it just for an extracurricular activity. How do you then want to utilize it? But those gifts, and I think, bring your spirit, your inner spirit joy, that childlike part inside of us that we have got to feed. I don't care how old you are. If you're 10 or if you're 110, you still have got to feed that inner spirit, your inner child. Those are the things that make us happy. Actually, it goes deeper than that. It isn't about being happy. It's about bringing you joy. So you do those things that bring you joy. And then you can do the necessary mundane things like, go to work. You can clean your house. You can, do this. You can do that, whatever it is. But as long as you feed that inner spirit and you know where that outlet is that you're happy in, then you can balance it out. It's always about balancing. Later, you got to clean your house. You got to do your work. You have to do all the stuff. You got to pay your bills, but it's that's the balance that we seek.
I like that. So how can women and men, how can we balance everything out and also handle stress? Is that a possibility?
I don't know if that's possible. I think balance comes and goes in each moment, right? But what you can learn how to balance are your emotions.
Okay.
And not to be driven by your emotions, because emotions can get crazy and they don't always make sense. And emotions are often driven from fear and old stories again, right?
Right.
So you have to first be able to recognize what emotion is showing up. Is it anger? Is it resentment? Is it guilt? Is it sadness? Is it happiness? You know, you have to be able to recognize that. And then you have to embrace it for what it is. I mean, if it's anger, then you have to not act like a jerk and go out there and hit things and start spouting your mouth off. You have to pull yourself back and go. And then this is where you ask yourself, what am I angry about? You know, you close your eyes, you go inward and say, what am I so angry about? And if you sit with yourself long enough, if you're able to do that, you will find the answer. You could say, it might take a while, it might take a little bit. You know, you might go, I'm angry because, you know, it rained today. It could be as silly as that, but it's just your trigger, right, into something deeper. And so you don't allow your life to be led by your emotions.
Yes.
And when their emotions do come up, you just realize that it's the ebb and the flow. It's the roller coaster ride. We're always on the roller coaster ride. As long as we're having a human experience, we're going to be on the roller coaster ride. That is, if you're out there living, you know, if you're out there going full bore and you're trying different things to discover your passion, right? So that's going back to, how do you discover your passion and your gifts? Try things. Be willing to fail. My advice is be willing to fail over and over and over again. And whoever says, you know, and believe me, there are plenty of people along my path that says, well, why are you going to do that? And the answer is, because I want to. That's why. That's
right.
Because I want to, and period. You know, you don't have to go into some long, elaborate explanation about why you want to do something. Before I had written my first book, oh my goodness, you know, people are like, well, you're not a writer, you're not this, you're not that. And I'm like, yeah, and I don't care. You know, pretty soon you just have to tell them to shut up. You just shut up.
Right.
And you just keep going, because your soul, it's between you and your soul and God. That's the path that you're on. And only you and God really know what that path is about. And it's nobody else's business.
You don't know anyone else's explanation. Yeah. That's right.
No is a complete sentence, and go away is one as well. So, yeah, you know, so that is where, though, the inner power and that confidence come into play, and not allowing your emotions to take over your life and be all consuming, because that will lead you into disasters, such as crappy relationships, and relationships with those that don't necessarily have your best interests involved, you know?
True.
So you got to be really aware of that, especially in this day and age. You got to be able to see through the sheep's clothing.
Yeah.
You do.
I agree.
And I'm sorry, but that's the outright truth. And so that's where you have to really know yourself and understand your boundaries, understand where you're coming from, embrace those things. And then when you feel, okay, I'm going to go do this, I'm going to go do that, I'm going to go involve myself in this relationship, you can stand in your power. And at any time, you can turn around and walk the other way, because you go, you know what, this doesn't serve me. And then when you find yourself in a situation with a narcissist or a sociopath, because we've all encountered those, they're out there.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And you know,
they're out there.
They're out there. They'll find you. Sooner or later, they'll find you. Even those of us that have studied spirituality and you know, the mind-body connection, psychology, all that. Oh, believe me, I think they're even more sucked to us. And you just go, no,
I agree.
Not work. Not work on my little island and my island. I'm going to kick you off. And so that's just kick them off. So, and that's done. You know, I feel very passionate about taking care of your responsibilities. So, you know, children are responsibilities, and your animals are responsibilities. and yourself as a responsibility. You
Yes.
take care of your kids, you take care of your animals, you take care of yourself. And your relationships, you know what? If you're in a relationship with a grown man or a grown woman, they should be able to handle themselves as well.
No,
I
absolutely.
agree.
You know, you don't need to be raising, if you only have 2 kids, you don't need to be raising the third one. And the third
Amen
one
to that.
as a boyfriend or a girlfriend.
Yes. Mhm.
That is so true.
No, you can't raise. You can't raise no man. You can't raise no man.
Don't be raising a
No.
man. Don't be raising a woman either. So
Yes.
There you go. Yep. Mhm.
That
you
is
need to
true.
figure yourself out before you come over here to this party.
Yeah.
That's right. You gotta be whole.
Or at least trying to make yourself that way.
Yeah. So, Angela, can you give us some tips on how we can dig deep into loving ourselves?
Again, go back to what brings you joy. What are the things that bring you joy? Do something for yourself a little bit each day. And if you say you don't have 2 minutes for yourself or 5 minutes to yourself, you're too busy. You clearly need to understand time management, because
No.
you know, get up 2 minutes early, 5 minutes early, 10 minutes early, and go meditate. Go lay on the floor. You know, I didn't get to this place because life has been easy. I was kind of a homeless chick for about 7 years.
Mhm.
So
You know the shit.
Yeah.
I understand what it feels like to be uncomfortable and to find peace and serenity when the world is one big mess. When my world was one big mess, how do you find peace? So I would have to, you know, set my car. I would have to go lay on the floor. So you do those simple things that bring you joy. I like peace and quiet, so that brings me joy. Maybe it's, you know, listening to your favorite music 10 minutes or 30 minutes every day, or maybe it's doing yoga, or maybe it's going to the gym or cooking food, you know, whatever it is. But do something every day that feeds your inner spirit, that feeds your inner child, that makes you happy. So when you go to the mirror, so this is a challenge that I give everybody that comes into my office. Go to the mirror, look into your eyes and say, I love you. And then give yourself the Buddha smile. And that's the Buddha smile. Like, you pull your eyes down, your lips up, and you give yourself the Buddha smile. Because what your inner spirit really needs is for you to recognize yourself, to appreciate yourself, and to love yourself. Once you do that, you can overcome a lot of things, because that's where you regain that self-confidence and inner power. And who cares what the world is doing? You know what? As long as you're a good person, you keep showing up and you're authentic and real, and you got a strong faith going on, you're guided, and it's gonna be okay.
I like that. So what inspires you? Where do you get your inspiration from? You know, especially hearing everything that you've been through.
I love yoga, so I go to yoga 5 times a week, and that I make that a priority. And I realize that it can't be in everybody's life, because they have kids and they have other responsibilities. So I don't have children. I have a horse. So my horse is my responsibility. So I go to the barn every day.
That's your baby.
Yeah, whoever said that I needed a 2-legged one, I'm not about that. You know, 4-legged is just fine.
They're expensive too. Right. Just saying.
Oh my gosh.
Just saying.
I could have sent Trigger to Harvard or back like 4 times so far. And so, yeah, they're expensive. And if you take care of them, the bills rack themselves up.
Yeah.
You know, and they don't talk back. So that's the great thing.
Right.
That's a good thing about having an animal.
But they're stubborn. They may not talk back, but they have their stubborn.
Yeah. You know what?
Yes.
They can be stubborn. Okay.
He's got an attitude.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. And when he doesn't want to walk, he'll stand there and brace
himself.
Oh my goodness.
They're talking. We just don't know what they're saying.
Oh, I know what he's saying. He's like, I'm not going that way. You're crazy. I'm not going that direction. So I go out to the barn. I love playing in the dirt, so I don't mind shoveling horse manure. I don't mind, shuffling hay around or stacking bales, all that stuff. So I like physical labor. I think physical labor is actually very therapeutic, to get your hands dirty and to be outside in Mother Nature. She's ultimately, I think, the best teacher. Go outside and listen to the stream. Go look at the stars. The full moon is a great communicator. It's yin yang energy. If you want to nurture and learn to self-love, be around that nurturing yin energy and begin to fill yourself up that way from Mother Earth. She's very, very powerful. That's a great way to self-love. So I'm very simple. I enjoy the simple things, going to the barn, yoga, my peace and quiet. And then I can do my work. Whether it's coaching people or speaking or writing the next book, but that balances me out a little bit. And spending time with friends. I have amazing a tribe of friends that I spend time with, and not every day. I'm not one of those friends that you call every single day, because I'm not available. I
ain't got time for that.
It ain't gonna happen. If you're that needy, I can't handle you that needy either. So, it's just the way it is. I was born this way. So yeah, it's who I am. But ultimately, I love helping people. I love helping them navigate their way through life, through challenges, and especially those that feel like, oh my God, life's never going to get any better. Yes, it will. But we got to change a few things. You got to work on the karma a little bit, because that's part of it. You got to work on your mindset. You got to work on your mouth, and you got to work on what you're focusing on.
Right.
And it's all a step. It's a one step at a time. And after a while, it begins to accumulate, and then you can look back and go, wow, I've come a long ways, right? But you don't realize that when you're in the middle of it.
Right.
Yep.
That's a good point. I like that. That's a good point.
So definitely. So do those things that nurture for self-love. Ask yourself, what brings me the most joy, and go do that. Whether it's 1 minute a day, 10 minutes a day, 30 minutes a day, whatever it is, and make time for yourself. Because when you don't make time for yourself, I think ultimately you're telling yourself that you're not important. And when you tell yourself you're not important and that you're not on the priority list, your inner spirit is not happy. And you want your inner spirit to be happy, because that's your creativity and that's your imagination.
Or try to tell you how to live your life, and when you fall into certain situations where you shouldn't be.
Amen. Yeah, I've been in those ones too, and that's where you've got to just boundaries. Having solid boundaries is so important, because that is what you let into your world. And bad behavior doesn't work for me. So I don't care who you are, whether it's a girlfriend or a boyfriend, or even relationships with clients, or Trigger is probably the only one's allowed to have a bad, right? Because he's my fur baby. But people, your children are going to have bad days, right? So you allow for that, but I don't allow for back talk from too many adults. No way.
As you should.
I think once you've been through so much and you understand who you are, and none of us are perfect. Oh my God.
Right.
We're always making, we're human, we're making mistakes on a daily basis, right? And so you got to ultimately give yourself a lot of forgiveness every single day. That's where you can start with self-love, is forgiveness. At the end of the day, go, what, I could have done better over here. I could have done better over here. I shouldn't have burnt this. I shouldn't have, talked back to this person. I could have handled this situation better. But, at that moment in time, you probably acted according to your level of consciousness. And when you can go back and reflect on that, you can go, what, I could have changed my reaction. And that is where the transformation begins. That's where the change begins. And ultimately that's self-love, because then you recognize that and you go, I don't want to be that person anymore. I want to do this. And then when you change your behavior, that's how you change your life.
That's good.
Yeah. So since you've mentioned your book, so can you tell us about and share your business?
Sure, I'd love to. Thank you. My book, A Charm Journey, which is available on Amazon. That is my memoir. That's pretty
Okay.
much
Awesome.
why I am who I am today. It starts with my journey as a foster kid. And when I started this book, you know, I was so right before I began writing this book, I wasn't being real. I wasn't being honest with myself. And I was in a relationship with someone who clearly, sucked my soul and drained me on every level, spiritually, emotionally, physically, and financially. And I remember I didn't pray, I didn't meditate, I didn't know who I was. I didn't even recognize myself. And one day as I was walking to the bathtub, I look into the mirror and I go, who is that girl? I didn't recognize myself. So I get into the tub and I'm sitting there, and I kid you not, a force bigger than me literally forced me out of the tub. And I ended up wrapping a towel around my body, a towel around my head, and I walked up the stairs, and I looked at my boyfriend at the time and I said, I'm leaving. And he goes, where are you going? And I said, I don't know, but I ain't staying here. And those were the same things that I said to my mom when I was 14. So I just knew that in order for me to survive and to become that next version of myself, I needed to leave this relationship because it was toxic. And he goes, well, I've only left you with $10 to your name. And I said, $10 my soul's worth more than $10. I said, I said, that's fine. That's fine. I said, I'll just pack my car. And I didn't have any, the only animals that I had left, I waited until all my animals had passed, was my horse. And so I only had myself to take care of. And I packed my car and I didn't know where I was going. And I was mad. I was mad at God. I was mad at life. I was mad at myself. All of it. Because here I was, some great life coach, but now I had to actually apply the wisdom to my own life. I've been telling people what to do forever, but I hadn't had to truly apply it. Now I had to apply it. So I get into my car and I didn't know where I was going to go. And I thought, well, I'm just going to go live in the park because it can't be that bad. I'll go be a homeless person. I had a tent, and it was like summer, fall, I think. So I thought, well, I'm just going to go live in the park. And I remember I started driving to the park and I was so mad. I was crying and having a temper tantrum. And I pull over to the side of the road and I literally started beating my steering wheel. And I said, God, I can't believe you did this to me. You forgot you've forgotten all about me. And why do I have to go through all this? And I was crying and crying and crying. And then pretty soon I stopped. And when I tell you that the still small voice came through my car, that's exactly what it was. The still small voice. And it came through my back window, and I was completely calm. And I started my car and I drove to a house. And I didn't know where I was driving. The same situation that I did back when I was 14. And I remember I drove to a house, and I was a little out of my mind at the time. Also, I don't know exactly how I made it safely, but I got out of my car. I walked to the front door, and it was my very first client that I had in my life that said if I ever needed a place to stay, I was welcome in her home. And that's where God had literally drove me.
Wow.
And that's how my book came about.
Wow.
So I laid in bed. So her name was Noreen, and she says, you're always welcome in our home. And I remember I laid on the bed and I said, okay, God, I will do whatever it takes to change my life. Tell me what I need to do, and I will listen now. I will listen and do it. And I was given instructions. And it came to me like a lead brick. And I had to, first of all, I had to take responsibility for my life. I had to recognize every role that I was playing in my relationships, all of them. I couldn't leave out any of them. So, because we're all playing a role in our life, right?
Mhm.
Whether you're playing the role of a victim, a saboteur, the conqueror, whatever it is, you got to understand how you are feeding that relationship.
Right.
The second thing was take responsibility. I had to really, hold myself accountable as well. I had to discipline myself. I couldn't allow myself to no longer feed those emotions that were allowing me to get carried away with whatever situation was just showing up. I had to truly, discipline myself and learn how to discipline my mind. So that was the second thing. And then I had to be grateful. I had to be grateful for every single thing. And that included the situation that I was in at that current moment when I was completely homeless with $10 to my name. How do you find gratitude in that?
Come on.
It was hard. It was really hard. But I knew that if I was angry or resentful or allowed fear to overwhelm me, that was going to continue feeding that part of the journey. And I had to change that. So I just said, okay, I will do whatever it takes. And then the fourth thing was that I had to write about it. And then that's why Charm Journey came.
Wow, that's amazing.
So I thought, this is how I'm going to help people change their lives, because I'm going to change my own. And it was I'll be honest, the writing process was, I didn't know how to write a book. So I didn't even have a clue. I had no idea even what an editor was for. I didn't know how to find a publisher. I didn't know anything. I just opened up my computer one day and I just started typing. And when I was finished, I just said, okay, God, what do I do next? And then that's when the next step led to the next step, next to the next step. And then Wayne Dyer actually ended up endorsing it, because I prayed about it. And I said, okay, God, if I do this, I need somebody to prove that I'm not crazy, because you would probably think I had 3 heads. But I remember I sent Wayne Dyer the book, one of the first printed copies, and within 2 weeks he sent me an email and he said, here's your endorsement. Now go out there and set the world on fire. And that's how I began to change my world. So it's through podcasts and being asked to speak at certain events that my book has spread worldwide. And I'm a self-published author, so I couldn't even find a publisher to pick myself up.
Wow.
Because it was too, I don't know, it was too out there. I don't know why. And who cares? Because now I own the rights to it. So if anybody says you can't write you can't self-publish your book, you can't be successful with a self-published book, my answer is yes, you can. And good for you if you have to self-publish it, because that means you just get to work a little bit harder, but you get to reap the rewards as well.
Amen. I love it. That just gave me chills, that whole situation. I just love how that was dope. I don't have anything to say.
Yeah, I love that. I love it. It goes to show how powerful God was in your life and what he has done to just bring you up, where he wants you to be at.
Right.
Yeah. And I've also wanted to be there as well. I've also wanted to heal. You've got to want to heal. And God helps you heal. God, I mean, absolutely. It's the power of God. It's the power of Jesus that comes through you. It helps you heal. Because we're not strong enough. I don't think that we're strong enough to heal ourselves. I mean, you have to use, we are, but you have to use God to heal. So I don't want to get into a religious thing about this, but I'm the reason why I'm here today is only because the grace of God. And it isn't because I knew anybody. It isn't because I had any money to pay my way there. It wasn't because I got any special perks along the way. Nothing. Nothing. I had to start over. I've had to start over a couple times from bare bones. And now I make better choices.
That's true. And I think it also takes, time to actually just listen and sit. And if you're moving around and doing so much things, you may miss not necessarily your calling, but you may miss the moment when he's trying to speak to you at the worst time of your life. Absolutely. I think those you were in the bathtub that played the part where he was able to come in.
Yep.
And
Because
take
I was,
Yeah.
I mean, because I wasn't doing anything. I was stuck in the tub, right? And I needed to force out. When I was having a temper tantrum in my car, I was a little bit out of control. I was a little batshit, you know. And again, I had to, like, the force came through me where it just calmed me down, and I just stopped crying, and I don't even know how it happened. And then how I drove to that house, I have no idea how it happened, and I have no idea how I even just started writing my book. I just opened up the computer, and I'm like, I'm just gonna do exactly what I'm told, and that's the way it has been. But again, I had to look back. I had to go back into my life and heal from being 14 on, because I was repeating that cycle. So that's the point that I wanted to share, is that I was doing the same thing when I was 14 as I was doing when I was 30. So that is how powerful our behaviors and patterns and survival is in our life if we don't recognize it and heal it.
Yeah.
Because I was in a relationship very similar to one when I was with my mother. So I got to replay it. I hit the replay button.
And didn't even know it until you came into realization. That's
absolutely.
And I think a lot of people go through that. Like, a lot of the things that we have in regards to our foundation molds us into who we are. And we don't take time to just sit back and be like, okay, this is a pattern.
You have to. Absolutely. That's the gift. You have to recognize that is a pattern. That is part of your life, and not accepting it or feeling guilty about it or abandoning yourself, you know, in it. I mean, I've been doing this work for a long time. I've heard a lot of stories, and they break my heart. And sometimes I don't know how some heal, but I have seen miracles happen. I'm a firm believer in miracles. And that's where you really just go, you know what, God, I don't know how I'm going to get through this, but I'm just going to trust, and I'm going to open my heart. I'm just going to allow for a healing to take place. I don't know where to begin. And the thing is that you don't have to know what step to take, but you just have to walk to the door, and you have to open your heart and just say, okay, I'm willing to do what it takes to heal. And then you're moving forward, and then God will work. But you have to be willing to walk to the door, open your heart, and say, I need this to change.
That's good. That's so good. So is there anything that you would like to share that we didn't cover, or anything that you would like to let our viewers know?
I would say that you have one life to live. One. You get one shot at it. So give it all that you got, and do not, just become very conscious of what you're doing, and the people that you surround yourself by is who you become. So put yourself in good environments. You have to deliberately put yourself in good environments, and recognize what you're doing, how you are contributing to your own life, what role you're playing in your own life, and be willing to change and go into that deep level of self-love, because you are worth it. Everybody is worth it. You are worth love. And we find ourselves in situations, even, dates back to parents, when somehow we don't believe that we're worth it because, our parents weren't around, or they abandoned us. I was a foster kid, so I had to deal with abandonment. We all have our issues. I don't think there are any of us that don't have an issue. Right. But you just learn to embrace the issue, and it's part of who you are. And then you love that part of yourself. I mean, I know it sounds freakish, but that's, again, you go to the mirror, you say, I love you, give yourself a hug, and go, it's going to be me, me and you, what you're saying, like, me and your inner child, and heal from there. And it's amazing how the universe will begin to pull your life together in ways way beyond your imagination. But as soon as you start to think that it can't happen, you've just limited yourself. So you have to keep your mind open to all possibilities, because truly anything is possible with God.
Amen.
Amen to that. Mm-hmm.
So I guess that was my words of wisdom. Go
like
live your life. Go live your life and don't allow other people to live it for you.
Come on.
Mm-hmm. Give out those golden nuggets.
Yes. So I guess if anyone wanted to work with me, I have a website. It's angelalenhardt.com. So I'm easy to find. I have YouTube videos. I have Instagram page. I have LinkedIn. I have Facebook. So my content is out there. I write a lot of blogs. They're all located on my website as well. I teach classes. There's also I prayed about this. I created a miracle workshop that you could download from my website. It's only $40. I put in my heart and soul into creating this, and it's like homework. And you get a video, so I show up in a video in your house, and I talk you through things. I give you homework so that you can begin to address your life, your issues from a deeper level, from as if I was sitting in front of you, to help you get on your path and what your purpose is and how to experience whatever it is that you desire in this life. So I made that available to anyone who wants it. So and then if you want a personal session or attend an online workshop, just send me an email.
That's amazing. I love the work that you're doing for the community, and just helping others get into their passion. You have so much tools, and then you succeeding with your book that's published by yourself. Like,
yeah,
accomplishments are.
I had to cross quite a few hurdles to publish this book. In my second book, Trigger the Wonder Horse, and both of these are God books. So I think that we all know that whenever we put God word out there,
right,
it just brings another level of determination into the picture. And
it sure does.
Yes, it does. I kid you not. Right after I had written the Trigger book, and I had only saved it on my computer, I hadn't downloaded it into the iCloud. Yeah, so it was all on my computer. So one morning I wake up and my message was, "Are there any emails that you need?" And I said, "No." And then the next message was, "Did you save the Trigger book on the cloud?" And I said, "No." So that morning I saved it onto the cloud, and that afternoon my computer got stolen.
Wow.
Yes. They stole it out of my car and left my bag, the computer bag, in my car. Whoever it was stole my computer, but I saved my book on the cloud. And that's the reason why
that was divine.
Yes,
it was.
So I was like, don't screw with me.
I know that's right.
Don't screw with me. I'm gonna
get behind me. Absolutely. So there is one thing that we ask all of our guest speakers before we close out, and that is, what makes you uncommon?
I don't know. We're all uncommon. I don't know. I have a big mouth. My mom used to say, your mouth's going to get you in trouble someday. And it has. It's got me in a lot of trouble. But it's got me a lot of great places as well. So one thing that is uncommon is that I speak up, and I'm not afraid to, call it out and call it like it is. And let's move up. Let's move forward. But let's be honest.
I like that. So you're raw with it. You no filter. You say what's in your mind.
I go for it. I'm gonna take that leap of faith. I don't want to be one of those people that look back and go, I wish I would have, could have, should have. I might as well jump. Yeah. Hopefully Annette catches me. I mean, I've hit the ground a few times, but it seems like I've bounced back, right?
Well, thank you so much, Angela. Thank you for sharing your wonderful testimony, and thank you for what you're doing for the community, as well as those that's going through something or just needs another source of empowerment. I think your testimony would definitely help those that's listened. I witnessed in some of the things that you talked about in regards to leadership and going through stuff with relationships. So I definitely say that I could witness to that. So that was definitely powerful on my behalf. Thank you, viewers, for tuning in to Uncommon Women. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe to us on YouTube. Our next episode will be September 23rd at 7 p.m. If you have any topics, questions, or would like us to discuss anything, you can reach us on our email at uncommonwomenpodcast@gmail.com. And be sure to check out our website, uncommonwomen.net, where we have our self-love apparel. And if you're also interested in being a guest speaker, you're more than welcome to go on our website to sign up for that as well. So again, thank you, viewers, for joining us. And thank you, Angela, for coming on the platform today. And viewers, please remember to stay uncommon. Bye.